You know, there's so many projects out there these days that create fantastic worlds. You know, images take us to other dimensions, other times. Tell us about this one. What was it about this project and the vision of it that you found most appealing?
Well, I've always been into the world of ancient Greece and certainly the fantasy aspect thrown into this one as well. Tarsem was the one true element that got me attracted and passionate about the script, though.
Terrific. And Kellan, tell us a little bit about your character.
He's the god of wetness and moisture. I play Poseidon, and I love my character. I'm a fish. I love to swim myself, and he's kind of the fun uncle to Zeus here.
He's the salty one, is that right?
He's the salty one.
Fantastic. And Luke, Zeus, I mean, that's a tall order to fill. You know, we talked a little bit already about gods being young. How do you play Zeus? I mean, is he informed by, does he have an ancient voice, or is he a young man in his voice?
No, we left the ancient voice to John Hurt. You can't really speak like John Hurt.
Yes, exactly.
It was a difficult one. It was a challenge. We're used to seeing Zeus as an older man. He's always been portrayed by older actors. So this was a new slant on the role. But like Tarsem said, you know, if you were a god, you'd want to be young and in your prime of your life. You wouldn't want to be old and
like Mark Canton.
Like what? Mark Canton, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that was a challenge, but it was fun to play and take on the role of a king of the gods and all the other things that Zeus encompasses.
That's great. And Stephen, you know, with a movie with characters of this size and scale, it's easy to get lost between, you know. Your character is the one that maybe the audience might connect to the most in a way, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, Stavros is a slave, you know. He meets Theseus on a slave train and ultimately decides he could be on his own with what's happening in the world, or he can join forces with the group. And it only helps that Frida Pinto's character's in that mix, because I think Stavros is a bit horny as well. And the rest is the rest, you know.
That's great. And Frida, what is it like to be in a movie with this size of a canvas? I mean, it presents a different set of challenges, I would imagine, for an actor.
Definitely, because this was my first ever big budget film. And I had just stepped off to really small independent films.
Sure.
So it was going to be a lot more challenging. I think you've got to have a lot of patience when you do a film like this, because especially when you're not on set every day, you have to wait in your trailer and you've got to be patient enough, and you need to be able to be dedicated to come on time every day, even though you're not probably required first thing in the morning.
Sure.
But it's really a teamwork at the end of the day, and so it's great to work with someone like Tarsem, who gives you that freedom to bring in whatever you would like to bring to your character. So it didn't feel very different in terms of performance. It didn't feel very different from an independent film, but the whole logistics of it is very different.
Sure. You know, and I mean, you look down this row and you see actors who are in, you know, like, as you mentioned, The Hobbit, and Man of Steel, Twilight, Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Mark, is everybody just like stealing your BlackBerry, or I mean, how are these people getting?
Well, again, along with the studio, Tucker and Ryan, our brothers, Johnny and I always pride ourselves on what's next, just like Comicon does. We're looking for originality. We're looking for cutting edge. We try to stay away from the bullshit of the past and bring something new to everybody. And Tarsem, of course, having such a great vision of the movie to begin with, the casting was relatively easy and came together beautifully.
Okay, who has the best Mickey Rourke story? Come on, I know somebody must.
Everybody does.
Who's got the best one you want to say in public? Anyone?
I never met him.
No, not in public.
It looks like, I think, a very simple one, because Mark, he tells me what to do now. He tells me to speak up. Okay, so it's very short. Mickey would come on set every morning, and we would have to make sure that Mickey would be on time, and Mark was in charge to do that. And Mark would come back right away to me and say, "Why don't you do that?" And then I would go, and then I would go back to Mark and say, "Why don't we do it together?" And and then Mickey would come and would say good morning to Mark and call him producer number 2, and Mark would be a little bit upset, and I was very happy. So that's my little story. Steven Dorff was happy too.
Fair enough. Hey, so Henry, I'll ask you another question. These people are going to lose their mind. It's fantastic. Is everybody happy to see Henry? You haven't, this is your first Comicon, is that right?
It is, yes.
How's it going so far?
Great so far.
When you look for the voice of a character, a character like yours, where do you start? I mean, it's for a modern audience, but I mean, this is a story from the past. How do you find the voice of your character?
That's a tricky thing because you don't want to make it sound too stuffy and oldie-worldy, as you say, but at the same time stay loyal to the age of a character like Theseus. So it's a tricky one. You've just got to find a fine balance and play it out as you go along, really. Just try not to be too English about it and try not to be too American either.
Fantastic. Tarsem, tell us about sort of the genesis of this project and the beginning of your involvement with it.
I think when they told me the movie about gods in Greek times, I just thought I wanted to address the idea of gods. And my mom had said something to me about a year and a half ago that kind of started this whole thing for me, which was, I mean, I've been an atheist since I've been like 9 years old, and she's very religious. And she turned around to me one day and said, I was just saying something equally blasphemous to her, and she turned around and said, how do you think you're as successful as you are if it wasn't for my praying? And I thought, you know what? I want to make a movie where a guy like me dies and he goes up there and there's God and he goes like, you schmuck, I've been wanting to give you crap, but because of this woman's praying, I gave you all your success. So it started from there, the idea that if there are gods, why don't they interfere? Why is there all the misery in the world? And the idea was how to solve it. Do you go with free will? Do you go with a whole bunch of issues that I thought if I could put those into the script, I'd make it happen. I started with them in the script, and now they're a little bit there. So enough of my DNA is in there for me to feel it's my film.
Nice. Fantastic. Well, I think you guys want to watch a little bit more. Maybe watch some of the, you guys want to see some more footage?
Yeah.
All right, this is the 2D footage.
Yeah, we are going to show you some footage, just a piece of the fight scene at the end in 2D, and everyone enjoy yourselves. Get your popcorn ready.
You guys see that?
Well, yeah.
I love you.
All right. We're going to turn it over to you guys in a second here and take some questions from the audience. And I would encourage you to make sure that you remember questions and then question mark. Make sure that there is actually a question there. And then let's try to keep the questions on this movie. So if we could, if that's possible.
What do you mean?
So, but, oh, okay, we're going to start right now. Hey there, how you doing?
This question is for Henry Cavill and Luke Evans. I wanted to know how you guys were affected spiritually on working on this film.
Luke?
You can't start with a heavier question?
Spiritually, I'm not sure how to answer
Well,
that
I mean,
one.
we were so starved that we definitely did have a few out-of-body experiences.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, when you do a film of this size, it becomes your life, and you can't really do anything else. You live in a bubble. I guess that was quite spiritual in a way, because this is everything, the people you're around, you're on set every day, you work very, very hard. So I guess that's sort of spiritual. But apart from that, no more spiritualism.
Just not much eating and a lot of hard work. That's about as spiritual as it got for me.
My body is my temple.